Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies and Man once again, and today we're going to be doing our monthly check-in for the month of November. Yeah, I think so, November. And yeah, as always, we're going to start with what I've been watching, then what I've been reading, and what I've been reading will be divided into novels, comics, and then manga at the end. There's definitely a lot of manga, so if you want to skip to that section specifically, feel free to do so. So, yeah, it's been a good month. I haven't done too much. I did have some exams last week, but the week before that and the week after, right now, I've had a lot of free time. So I've been reading a lot lately, also because I haven't been sleeping that well. I haven't been able to go to bed. So I just get back up, sit down on my couch, and start reading some manga at like 3 in the morning just to see if it helps you go back to bed. It does sometimes. Sometimes I just get invested in the book and then don't fall asleep, but it is what it is. So, yeah, let's start with what I've been watching. So, I've actually been a pretty productive weeb this month. I've been watching a lot of anime. So, let's start with Film Red. I watched it twice. I watched it in Japanese with my buddy from school during the first weekend it was out, November 6th. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time. I had the expectations that it was going to be musical oriented, and I think it's good. I've actually been listening to the songs a little bit on my own time, and I think I like the songs more than I initially did. And I do still think that it's a little bit intrusive when you're watching the movie, because like the movie isn't a musical. Actually, it's just kind of like a musical, if that makes sense. So, like, the first 40 minutes of it is basically a musical. Every time she sings, it's to convey something about the story. And then that goes kind of away for a while. And then it comes back for the big fight. So, it is a musical, but not really. And sometimes I feel like on repeat viewings, the music aspect might get a little bit boring if you continue to listen to the songs over and over again. But so far, I've watched it twice. I enjoyed it twice. I'll probably buy it physically on a DVD when it comes out because, well, I like One Piece. So, yeah. And I watched episode 11 of Sandman. This one was interesting. It was probably one of the better episodes of the series because I do like the show. I found it interesting, but, like, it meandered a lot for my taste. I know that's kind of how it works in the comic books, and I understand that, you know, that fact, but the medium doesn't lend itself that well to it. So, I don't know. It's a little bit weird for me. Like, I liked it, but also it was kind of odd. So, yeah. I don't have too much to say about Sandman. Then I watched Andor, episode, what was it, 10? That was the one that came out this month. Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, I watched episode 10 of Andor. It was really good. I liked it. I thought it was really interesting. Again, it's a little slow, but it is generally very good. Once you get to the third episode in the arc, it's really, really satisfying. So that kind of slowness doesn't really bother me all that much. And in this specific arc, I would actually say that I liked the second episode a lot more than the third episode, even though the third episode did end on a really strong note with Luthen Rael's like monologue, right? So yeah, then I watched episode 5 of Blue Lock. Then I watched 2 episodes of Licorice Recoil, which is a really fun series. I thought it was a cute girls fighting kaiju type series, but apparently it's not. It's more like a Minority Report, like John Wick type thing, and I really like it. I think it's fun and interesting. I really love the character designs, but I'm not really sure where it's going. I've only seen 2 episodes of it. So yeah, then I watched 8 episodes of Golden Kamuy, and it's a really fun series. I already read the first volume a long time ago, so I wanted to check out the anime since I was watching so much anime this month. And it's really fun. It's really interesting. Sometimes I feel like the viewing experience doesn't allow for the Ainu culture aspect of the manga to shine, because a lot of the information given is just like told really fast, and with it being that fast while other stuff is happening, it kind of is difficult to follow it. So sometimes I don't really care about the Ainu stuff in the show, But I feel like in the manga, I would actually take my time to read it, and kind of, I wouldn't mind stopping the flow of the show or the anime or the series to enjoy that aspect of the story. So it's a little bit weird. I think it's an adaptation thing because there wasn't like an easy way to do it. Maybe if they had like eye catchers that explained the Ainu thing, or they paused the show, put on a brown filter, and then wrote it out so that you could like read it on your own time, that might have worked better. I don't know. I think that it's just an adaptation thing. I think I definitely prefer the manga in terms of like allowing me to appreciate the Ainu stuff. But the anime is really good either way. I really enjoy my time with it, and I'm quite happy watching it. So yeah, and then the most important thing that I've been watching this month is Ranking of Kings. I'm 10 episodes into the season. I've been watching this with my roommates, and man, Ranking of Kings is awesome. I love the character designs. I love the story. I love how like medieval it is, and I like that there's a lot of magic, but none of it really is explained. It's just kind of how it is, and it feels like a fairy tale. I also love the healing character, like the stepmother queen. Usually those characters are evil, but healing is just kind of haughty, and she's she actually really cares about Boji, and I love that. I think that's really, really meaningful and really great. I like her character design a lot, and she just is a really fun character, even though she's kind of like a bit prissy, right? So I like that a lot. Daida, I don't know if I like her or not, because, you know, he's kind of an asshole, but also he's kind of a victim. I like Beben a lot because he's basically like Salazar Slytherin, and I think that's fun. That's cool. It's kind of enjoyable. And Boji is the best. I really love him and Kage. Their relationship is great. And Boji is just such a good character. I also really like the inclusion of sign language. I think that's really, really fun. And really interesting. And I know that it's like supposed to be a real sign language that they actually adapted for the anime, which is really awesome and really cool. I like that a lot. And yeah, I love how cutesy it looks, but it has this really severely dark undertone, and it's really, really great. I really enjoyed Ranking of Kings a lot. I've had a wonderful time with it. So yeah, let's move on. I've only read one novel out of all of the ones that I had for my TBR this month. So let me pull it out here. The Return of Tarzan. My review for it will be out on Friday, so I don't want to say too much about it, but basically, it's a direct continuation to the first book, and it's really, really good. This one deals with Tarzan going back to Paris, encountering this Russian guy, and this French count and his young wife, and accidentally incurring the wrath of this Russian guy, and also having basically his first arch enemy in this Russian guy called Rokov and his buddy Pavlovich. And Tarzan eventually becomes a secret agent, which is cool. And then he ends up going to Africa to do some mission. And then he ends up on his jungle, of course. And eventually he ends up with the happy ending that was robbed of him in the at the end of the first novel. So this pair of novels, Tarzan of the Apes and Return of Tarzan, basically feel like a complete story arc. So you could read these two and not read any other Tarzan novels. But I don't want to do that. I want to continue. So I'm going to track down The Beast of Tarzan, which is the third book. And hopefully I get that soon. I already have the fourth one back there. So I just need number 3 so I can continue on. And something else happens in this book, which is pretty interesting, which is we get the first lost city in Africa. It's called it's this place called Opar, and it's kind of interesting because there's these gorgeous women and then these like really ugly ape men, and they coexist and they live together and they breed with each other. And it's really odd, but it kind of makes sense in the concept that it's explained. And of course, we get the introduction to Law, the Queen of Opar, who is a pretty interesting character. I quite like her a lot. And yeah, so that's it for Return of Tarzan. So let's move on to the comic books. I don't have really too many. I've been collecting a lot less stuff lately. So let's go with what I've got here. So we have Dark Knights of Steel. I already did a review for this. Pretty good. I really love this cover a lot. And we have Bella and Valeria, number, what's this, 5? This is the end, I think. That one was okay. The ending wasn't my favorite, but everything else about the story was good. And we have The Least We Can Do, number 3. Yep. Number 3, this one's pretty good. It's kind of gearing up. The main character finally managed to awaken her powers. Moon Knight, number 17. This one was pretty good. I quite like it. I'm excited to get more into this, but I also kind of want the run to end so I can stop collecting it. Then we have Gun Honey, number 3. This one was really good as well. I like this a lot. We get this kind of femme fatale on femme fatale kind of violence and action in this part of the story, and it's really, really good. I think it only has one left, so I don't know how this is going to finish, because it doesn't really feel like it's ready to end yet. So yeah, and then we have Lord of the Jungle. This is a Tarzan comic book, and this basically just tells you the abbreviated and kind of modernized retelling of Tarzan of the Apes, the original novel. It gets pretty quick. It mostly ends up right before Jane shows up, so 2/3 into the novel basically, and it does change things a little bit, because in this one Tarzan has a friend that is a native tribesman that he didn't have originally, and it's also Old Man Tarzan, so there you go. But I'm excited to read more of this, and I think the art style here by what's it called, something Gallego, let me double check, Benito, Benito Gallego, is really, really good. I like it. It's really old school, but it works really well for this comic book. So yeah, I think that's it. So that's it for the comic books. I haven't really read much else. I haven't been buying that many comic books because my pull list is pretty small lately. I've been keeping only the stuff that really, really brings me joy every time I read it. So anything that doesn't bring me joy, I immediately axe, because I'm not really interested in doing what I was doing before, which was buy a bunch of comic books that I had middling interest in, and then ending up not liking them and having to get rid of them later. So it is what it is. So yeah, let's get into the manga stuff. So it's going to be out of order. So here's Kakegurui. I actually read this just 2 nights ago. Really interesting. I had been interested in this story for quite a while. I basically knew the general premise, but I had never actually gotten around to reading it. I bought this a while back during a movie trading company sale, I think. I think I got it for like $6. So that's pretty good. It's less than half price. And it's pretty interesting. It's kind of wild. It's a psychological thriller about gambling. It's about high school students that go to a special academy where the social hierarchy is defined by your gambling ability, and mostly by your ability to cheat at gambling. We have this main character, what's her name? Yumiko Yanabi or something like that, who is actually kind of crazy. Yeah, Yumeko Jabami, who is kind of a crazy person. And she basically shows up to this academy and fucks up the social hierarchy because she's just crazy good at gambling. And it causes problems, and it's really, really good. And we get to see this through the eyes of different characters, so it's kind of interesting how that works. And I quite liked it, but the price tag for this book is kind of high, so I don't know if I'll buy more of it. But, you know, it is what it is. Let's see. I do want to have at least the same series all together, so I'm going to have to pick and choose here. So then we have Witch Hat Atelier number 4. Really good stuff. I love this. I like the little arc that's in this comic book, or in this volume, which is this secondary test. And 2 of the characters from our atelier are going there. And they also meet this other kid who's like a really sad, like anxious person. And it's really good. They get attacked by the Brim Hats, and it's kind of crazy. It's really exciting how everything works, and I really liked it a lot. I actually ended up buying number 5, and I have it over on my desk, so I'm going to try to read that tonight if I can. So yeah, Witch Hat Atelier number 4, really, really good stuff. If you guys haven't checked out Witch Hat Atelier, I definitely recommend you guys do it. So yeah, then we have Record of Ragnarok number 4. This is still part of what was covered in the anime, so hopefully the next volume finally gets to covering stuff that's not in the anime. But I also think that the anime is going to come back here soon, so we might still be anime, you know, catching up to the anime by the time that we get around to another volume of these, which should be sometime in January, I think, because there's been 4 of these this year, so I think that's it for that. But yeah, that one covers mostly the first half of the Sasaki Kojiro versus Poseidon fight, and we get Poseidon's backstory, which is really cool, very interesting, because it's different from the kind of mythological version. So yeah, we have Crazy Food Track number 2. This one continues to be a fun little food related romp, and this one gets a little bit more serious because we get introduced to her little sister, who ends up helping the other guy, that's the military guy that's younger than Gordon. And also, she gets in trouble, and Gordon has to go save her, and they have to join forces with the military guy. And it seems kind of interesting. There's only 3 volumes, so I don't know what the heck's going to happen. I'm guessing that final confrontation where they try to get her back is going to be the big climax of the manga, which is kind of exciting. So, yeah, also, the color on this spine is slightly different from the color on the first one, and I don't know if that's a printing issue or if it's actually supposed to be a slightly different version of highlighter yellow. I don't know. I think it's interesting either way, but it is kind of odd to see that, and like, because the colors are so close, right? So it feels like a printing error, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, so then we have some what is this, webtoon, or well, it's technically a web comic. But, you know, it is still in the manga kind of sphere. So here you go, the beginning of after the end. This is basically a different take on Mushoku Tensei. I mean, literally every other reincarnation novel is also a different take on Mushoku Tensei. But, like, this one is basically Mushoku Tensei without the harem bits at the early stages of the book. So we only get to see the reincarnation, rebirth, and then up to 4 years of age for this character. His name's Arthur, or Art, and it's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty generic in terms of like isekai novels and stuff like that. So you might not really miss out on anything if you don't buy this, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny, a lot more funny than is usually the case, which is good. And yeah, the only thing I really have to complain about is the cost of this, because this is $20 and it's only 200 pages, whereas this one, which is also by this is also a webcomic, is $20 and 300 pages, and Solo Leveling is almost 400 pages and also $20. So I think it just has to do with Top Bus licensing, but it is a bit ridiculous for what it is. The only reason I bought this, and the only reason why I might buy any others on this series, is because I bought it at Target, where it was like not 50% off, like 30% off. It cost me like $14, and that's a lot more acceptable for 200 pages of content, because that is more or less what I pay for my volumes of this signature stuff and of 7C stuff. So you know, $14 is doable. $20 feels a bit excessive for a very skinny comic book. So yeah, let's move on to The World After the Fall, which is the other thing that I showed you guys earlier. So I think the name of this volume is Undead Gamcha, and the author and the writer are the 2 names under that, so I'm not sure. But this is it's basically Solo Leveling. It's even done by the same studio. Let me see. Yeah, this is done by Red Ice Studio, which is the same studio that did Solo Leveling, but it's kind of different. So at some point in humanity's history, towers appeared, and these towers fucked up humanity and the way that humanity worked. A bunch of people got these pop-ups that said, join us so that you can fight to save the world. A lot of people did. Eventually, while they were fighting to climb the tower to get to level 100 of the tower, people discovered this thing called a regression stone, and they started taking these regression stones and disappearing from the world. And everyone kind of thought that they were just returning in time and living different lives. But in a very convoluted set of reveals, it either turns out that that's not true. They're actually in a worse nightmare than the towers, or they woke up from a coma because the towers aren't actually a thing that exists in the real world, but it is a psychological manifestation that was used to find people that fit a certain criteria. So I'm not sure which one it is, because the way that it's explained is really poorly done, but it doesn't really end up mattering once like you get to through to 2/3 of the book. At that point, you kind of understand like, okay, this character just has cultivation skills and he has managed to elevate himself into a different realm. And so he's in this new realm and he's interacting with these other characters in a different way. And that's basically it. But it's pretty interesting. I quite like the art style, and the kind of action of it is really, really good. But again, it is very familiar if you've read Solo Leveling. So be aware of that if you're not interested in that. So, and then we have Beauty and the Feast number 4. Really good stuff. And this one, we kind of get a bit development of the romance aspect of the story. We get to have Shuko interact with Yamato's little sister. We also get to see that Yamato is a really good baseball player, and we actually get to see him play, but he loses the tournament that he was in, so he's going to be sad, and I don't know what's going to happen in the next volume, but I'm guessing that Shuko is going to try to cheer him up with a big feast, because that seems like the thing to do. The little best chapter here was the Tokayaki chapter, because I just thought it was really, really cute. There's also a little bit of sexual tension between the characters in a very classic anime way. So she fell on top of him in a peculiar way. Turns out it wasn't anything raunchy, but, you know, the main character had like a crisis of identity for a bit when he thought he was touching her boobs. So, you know, it is what it is. And then I read Saint Seiya. This is number 4 and 5 of the Kansenban edition. And I didn't actually read both of these volumes completely. I read the second 2/3 of the end of this and the majority of this volume, which covers the Silver Saints arc in the Sanctuary saga. So I'm 2/3 of the way through Sanctuary. Now I have to read the rest of it over there, and I'll be done with the first saga of Saint Seiya. And the Panini is going to have a sale here soon, so I'll probably end up buying the rest of those books, which should be 10 of them. So I should be all caught up to Saint Seiya and all done with collecting the series by December if all goes well, depending on whether family comes to visit us or not. And yeah, the Silver Saint saga is not that great, actually. I think it's part of the weaker, probably one of the weaker parts of the Sanctuary saga, mostly because the Silver Saints are supposed to be stronger than the Bronze Saints, but basically each chapter is a fight, and each chapter ends with the Bronze Saints winning after, you know, some like slight difficulty, right? So it feels kind of ridiculous. Like, yes, I know that they're the main characters, so they're actually going to be stronger than they're supposed to be, but it's kind of ridiculous how strong they end up being. And sometimes it is because they're more intelligent and they're being underestimated, but, you know, it does kind of get old if every one of them does it, right? So it is what it is, though. It's just kind of how it goes. But I know that Sanctuary, or like the 12 Houses arc, is much better, so I'm really, really excited about that. So, yeah, Eden 018 was the next thing I got. And really, really good stuff. I love this. Something happens to Witch at the end of this volume, and the emotional impact wasn't that high because I kind of already knew what was going to happen, but also because the way that it was drawn was kind of felt like not exciting. So I'm not really sure about that. I think that it's a two-part issue. One, Mashima didn't really deliver on the emotional suspense of that because it was just so abrupt, but also I already knew what was going to happen, so I was just waiting for it, and it didn't really impact me all that much, which kind of makes me sad because it's a character I really like, and I would really like to feel that emotion of that impact, right? So it is what it is, but overall, I'm quite happy with this book, and I can't wait for number 19. So yeah, it's almost 20 volumes of Eden Zero. I can't believe that. So Yeah. Then we have Komi. I read volumes 19, 20, and 21. And this one actually has quite a lot of fun stuff. There's a little bit of a Hokkaido Gals kind of feel to some of the chapters here. The romantic situation between Komi and Tadano and Moonbagi hasn't really changed all that much, but it is kind of cute. I understand people's complaints about like, hey man, just Komi, come on, figure out your shit and get with Tadano. But also, I think that's really only a complaint if you really read them one after the other. If you wait a long time in between volumes of the series, it doesn't really feel like that much of a chore, or like it hasn't like gotten anywhere. So I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it had been a long time since I read a Komi volume, and getting back into the series and reading 3 of them in a row is a really satisfying endeavor. And I was really happy with how I was feeling while reading it. There was a lot of funny moments, a lot of good stuff, a lot of jokes that really don't land for me, but also I can appreciate them for like what they are. And I really like just Komi a lot. Like, it makes me feel so happy and so relaxed, and I really like that about Komi a lot. So yeah, that's it for that. Then one more series here, which I've been reading last night when I couldn't sleep, and actually finished reading it this morning. So give me a second to make sure I don't drop everything. Okay, and the last manga that I've been reading this month is Vinland Saga. So I read the last chapter in volume 7, and then all of volume 8, which is really good. I love Grunhild a lot, Gudrid a lot. Then number 9, I also like Hild quite a bit. She's a very interesting character. I like my boy Garm as well. Although there is something a little bit unsatisfying about this part of the arc, where this is the Eastern Expedition / the Let's Go to Greece arc. And the fact is that we don't ever actually get to see them go to Greece, because the vast majority of the story is focused on Thorfinn kind of dealing with the repercussions of his actions. I also read the first third of volume 12, because that's where the arc ends, right here. So yeah, there goes my bookmark, so whatever, it's fine. Yeah. So yeah, the Eastern Expedition was really good. I really liked the journey. I really enjoyed that everywhere they went, Thorfinn basically had to deal with the fact that he was a murderer for a long time, and he has to deal with that day in and day out. I think that's really, really good. It basically is a more complex version of Thor's arc at the beginning of the story, where he enters his society again and is immediately confronted with violence. Where Thorfinn is returned to his society and immediately faces conflict, and it doesn't end because he manages to continue to be alive. And it's a really interesting concept. I really like it a lot. I think that it's really satisfying when Thorfinn manages to find a way to defeat his enemies without killing them. Although, I mean, he still resorts to violence, but the issue isn't violence, the issue is death, right? So it's really satisfying, it's really good. I also really like the philosophy, or the philosophy that a lot of characters are also espousing, because a lot of them are like realizing that death is kind of all that there is for them, and that there's, you know, issues with the way that they live their lives. And I think it just has to do with the fact that Viking culture was so warmongering, and that is not really sustainable across a long period of time, especially when you make so many enemies everywhere you go. So yeah, I really enjoy Leif and Einar and Gudrid and Hild joining Thorfinn on his voyage, and Bug Eyes as well. His name's also Thorfinn. And it was nice to see Thorkill back. I really enjoyed Garm. He's a really good character. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on here that I really, really like. But again, I really would have liked to go to Greece and see what Makoto Yukimura thought of like 10th century Greece, right? That would have been really, really cool. But I understand why he didn't do it. It doesn't really have anything to do with the Vinland Saga, so it makes sense. And I'm really excited to start the Vinland Saga arc and kind of get into the final phase of the story. And overall, I've been really, really enjoying it. And I love this book series so much. Vinland Saga is awesome, and I really, really like it. So Yeah, that's all I've been reading this month. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.